All right, doing it, reviewing the shit.
Doing it, reviewing it.
Doing it and reviewing it. Hell yeah. Hey everyone, Cinema Buffs here, bringing you our review of the new Martin Scorsese movie, Silence. So Silence is about two priests back in the 1600s, really?
Yep, 17th century.
17th century. And they go off to Japan to find, not only to find their mentor, another priest, but also to sort of spread the word of Christianity and sort of take away all the bad stipulations that Japan has for Christianity around that time. We sort of touched base a lot on what we thought about Martin Scorsese and our strongest weakest. So, Dennis, let's just get into how his style translated over for this story.
Yeah, this isn't the first time that Martin Scorsese has touched on religion. He had Last Temptation of Christ with Willem Dafoe back in the 80s.
Yeah.
And with that movie, that brought a lot of controversy. And I think that this movie might share some of that controversy as well. Not as heavy as Last Temptation of Christ.
No.
But I think that Martin Scorsese is just this master filmmaker. And it shows in every technical aspect of this movie. Cinematography is great. Editing. The pacing of the movie. That's one of those things where we're sitting there right when the movie's about to start and we're like, man, this thing's 2 hours and 41 minutes long.
Yeah.
But then Nate's like, but it's Scorsese. It's going to be briskly paced. You're not going to feel the length of this movie. And I don't think you do.
You don't think so?
No.
I think I felt the length of this movie, very much so. Yes. Yeah, more so than with some of his other films. Like you said, most of his films are pretty lengthy. But this was, for me, on the slower side. It's a quieter movie. It's slower paced. And I'm not attributing it the length that it's bad, but I do think they could have shortened it up a little bit.
Yeah, there were scenes that were kind of just replays of the same event happening
That's
over
what
and
I felt
over.
like. It was chasing its own tail, kind of.
Yeah, I did get a little sense of that, so I can see how it would have felt a little bit longer. And also, there's these very long takes, these long shots in the movie as well. So I could see how this pacing could seem sluggish, but I think that those repetitive scenes or those replayed scenes helped to drive home the emphasis and just show how much torture Andrew Garfield's father Rodriguez goes through during this whole journey. And speaking of which, what did you think of Andrew Garfield as?
I think he did a really good job. Not flawless.
No.
I think some points were a little bit forced. I think for his acting abilities, he bit off a little more than he can chew with this one.
Yeah, I can see that in some scenes, but I think that he did a good enough job to I wouldn't say it was distracting at any point, but there were some points where it was just like, it was a little too crazy, a little too on borderline overacting. I wouldn't call it overacting, but it was just borderline. Yeah. And I think that Andrew Garfield's performance just shows, once again, in tribute to Scorsese, he gets the best performances out of people. Yeah. I think Andrew Garfield was really good in this. Adam Driver. was Liam Neeson. Can't even remember the guy's names, let alone how to pronounce them. The guy who played the Inquisitor. Yeah. And his right-hand man. Mm-hmm. I think those two actors, they did a very fine job. And not only is the acting really well, I think that the dialogue worked pretty good too. All of the Japanese actors that played their parts were pretty spot on for the most part. The white-haired guy, the main villain, the Inquisitor, call him a villain, call him what you will. Man, his voice was so bizarre. He had such a weird, and once again, going back to Scorsese's technical aspect, the sound design is really, really on point in this movie. It's really good, especially with the dialogue. It just seems very crisp, all the speaking between the two characters. So across the board, performances, I didn't have any gripe with. Not only do I think that with a Scorsese movie, you can expect great performances, I think you can expect his unique take or his sort of style. So what do you think about his style and how he applied it, or if he applied it to this movie? That's a good way of saying it, if he applied it. I think that this is not exactly Scorsese. If you watch this not knowing who directed it, I don't know if you'd say, oh, this is a Scorsese movie easily. I think he was a little bit more subdued. I want to believe that, in my experience and seeing other movies, I want to believe that every director, every film they make, is for them. They make this movie for them. It's a passion project, but I think this one was truly a passion project for Scorsese. I really think that this was very close to him, and I think he played it very straight. It's just, it didn't have his, the lighting that you're used to seeing, just some of the stylistic choices. And I just think that the novel, he was so faithful in adapting it that he didn't want to make it his version of this story. He just wanted to get the story out there. He wanted people to see this and experience it.
Exactly. And I don't think he didn't need style. It's not like he's like, oh, I want to throw all these cool camera angles in. That's not what this is about. This is a story, and that's what he's trying to go straight forward with, which was kind of on the boring side for me too. It just wasn't all that visually appealing to me. I think the location was beautiful, but all in all, just there wasn't enough going on. It's very quiet, and just touching base on, this is, a Christian movie. I am not of the Christian faith, and I wonder if this movie is more effective and more poignant for people of the Christian faith rather than someone that's not.
And I don't think that the emotions in this movie are very central to the Christian faith or anything. I think that this movie is just about the sacrifice, just of religion, just of belief. Because on one side, yes, you do have these Jesuit priests who are going and trying to spread the gospel of Christianity. And then you have the Japanese who, they're set in their ways. They believe what they want to believe.
Yeah.
And they have this great moment of dialogue at one point where they do catch it, or Andrew Garfield does catch up with his former mentor, and he sees that he's a changed man. And he tells one of the Japanese men that you warped his mind, you changed his belief, you changed who he was. And the Japanese man says, that's what you're doing to our people. So I think that's a very fair argument, and I think that just because of that alone, that fact alone, I don't think that's exactly applies to Christianity itself. I think it applies to faith and belief.
I like that it wasn't particularly biased by any means. I mean, you sort of, the ending has this sort of like little area or whatever, but it's not pushing the Christian faith, and that's
it's not.
It wasn't heavy-handed. It wasn't anything in that vein, so it didn't make anyone feel uncomfortable. You're just going through this character's story and just how he felt about the whole thing.
Buff. All right, well, Nate, so I mean, you can tell this one kind of bored you out a little bit. I definitely get the feeling you're going to score lower than I will, but go ahead, give me your score for this one.
I mean, I don't know if it's going to be lower. Yeah, it'll probably be a lower score than yours. Yeah, like I said, this movie is a tough one. There are movies that come along every now and then where I'm like, technically it's sound, direction-wise it's sound, acting it's good, but I didn't really like it. So, where do I fault it? Do I fault it just because I didn't like it? Or whatever. So with this one, I think it will touch certain people, and people will want to see this movie, and I think eventually it might actually end up being an important movie. So I'm still going to go fairly low, though, with a 6 out of 10.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I disagree with the movie being boring. I don't think it was, breathtaking. I don't think it was subpar Scorsese. I mean, his last movie was Wolf of Wall Street, and that movie just knocked you on your ass.
What a contrast of movies with this one and
that
one.
Right. And I think that while this movie took 25 years to come to production, I think that a lot of care and effort was put into it, and it shows through Scorsese. Mm-hmm. But yes, there are issues with it. It didn't knock me off my feet. It's subpar Scorsese, so I'm going to give this movie a 7.
Okay, so just a little bit. See, I wasn't that low.
No. But I think you're right in that you just expect more out of them, and we just, it didn't really deliver. Buffs. All right, so that's it for our review of Silence. What'd you guys think of the review? What'd you think of the movie? Why don't you go ahead and leave your comments down below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We appreciate all the support.
That's right. So next week, there's 2 movies coming out that we were a little torn about seeing. And so that was either the new M. Night Shyamalan movie, Split, or the new Vin Diesel movie, Triple X. So very different movies. So we're going to let you decide what movie we see. So leave your comments below, or on Facebook, or Twitter, or on Instagram, whatever, and let us know what you think we should review. We'll tally it up, and that's the one we'll do next week.
Yeah, and if you guys are 50-50 on it and it's a split vote, we're going to go see Split.
Yeah, so pretty much.
Be sure to join us next week for hopefully one of those movies will be good.
Yeah.
But until then, don't forget,
there's no place like the theater.
Did you guys enjoy that episode? Click the logo right here and you'll be on the road to becoming a cinema buff. But where we're going, we don't need roads.